Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight on the Saturday Night Hockey Show. This is a very special episode of the Saturday Night Hockey Show. Travis, a redneck, is traveling tonight, so we actually recorded our episode last night. We actually had an issue recording our episode last night. I forgot to record the first time we went through it. So this is the second take. I am actually going to be sitting in the comments and interacting with everyone watching. But let me bring on.
All right, man.
Here we go. Thanks for joining us, Dave Valentes. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday Night Hockey Show. We're actually recording this on Friday night. And we thought we had just recorded an episode. And we screwed up.
Hey, go Edmonton.
Oh, did Edmonton score?
Yep, Edmonton.
A little bit behind you.
We, everybody. We are very well practiced for this episode. Me and Dave actually just ran through about an hour and 20 minutes of content without. Wasn't in the top corner like normal, but I thought it's just a recording thing. Me and Dave have a ton of experience having this conversation.
Yes.
As far as having a secondary conversation of a conversation goes. So
today will be our episode called Deja Vu.
Yeah. I told him I'm making all the same jokes, and he better laugh.
Yes. All right. So this week we are talking about the Bridgestone Outdoor Games that will be held in Lake Tahoe. Have you had a chance to take a look at the scenery there?
Yeah, I have. Man, that is a killer view. That's one of the prettiest rinks that you could ever see. I think the only one that really struck me more was up in Thunder Bay, Ontario, where they have the pond hockey tournament. And it looks like, it's just perfectly flat until you see just the edge of the mountains out in the distance, which is kind of what they've got going on in Lake Tahoe.
Yeah. But it's not completely snow covered. There's a little bit of snow on the ground. Snow's up on the mountains. It's really beautiful there.
Picturesque.
Yes.
It'd be a great spot for couples photos.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see one of those. And I know that they're, big about going to, getting revenue from, ticket sales and all that stuff from these games. Because you're hosting it in a facility that's 4 to 5 times bigger than a traditional NHL arena. For me, I would love to see one up in Canada at like Banff or, just a, nice shield lake that is frozen over. You don't need fans. You just have the natural scenery around it. Yeah, you got the TV cameras and all that stuff. But I think that, that would be such a beautiful ratings winner for the NHL. If they can they could pull that off. Maybe you do a Canadian versus U.S. team to capture both markets. Because if you do both Canadian teams, you may not get a big U.S. draw out of it.
But not Chicago. Not again. No more Chicago.
Not Pittsburgh.
No, we're talking maybe Philly, maybe or give us the Southern team, dude.
What's that?
Give us a Southern team.
Yeah.
Give us, well, I don't know. Last year we had Dallas and Nashville. I feel like that was a pretty – the Winter Classic. It was, yeah, Corey Perry getting thrown out in the first 25 seconds. The face-off, Corey Perry gets ejected and then almost breaks his ankle going down the runway.
Yeah.
But no, man, I would love to see a real farm pond hockey game. I'm talking cows in the distance, Norman Rockwell painting, something that looks like it's out of a storybook that can kind of take people that grew up in that environment back, because a lot of these guys that are playing in the league, if they speak English or Russian, that's where they grew up playing.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool, the concept of a shell game, but it's a real game,
Yeah, exactly. So the matchups this week at this Winter Classic, the first one is the most intriguing to me because we're talking about the two top teams in the West. We're talking about Vegas, Colorado. Yes, St. Louis is currently on top of the division as far as points go.
I think Jared Dono just put one in. No, Anderson maybe. Anyway, Mike Smith just let one in. I got 2-1 Edmonton.
Yeah, just saw it. That first matchup is the most intriguing to me because this is the third and four nights that third and four games that they're playing. The first two games were split. First two games are 1-goal games. They're highly competitive, and now we're going to see that third game. I think it's going to have a good playoff feel.
It was a sick top shelf goal for Anderson from Calgary.
Yeah, popped it. But the other game, which is Philadelphia versus Boston, I think is going to feel a little bit more gimmicky. That's the Sunday game. Colorado versus Vegas is Saturday. I think it's going to feel a little bit more gimmicky because part because Philadelphia is without 6 players. Claude Giroux,
6 major players.
Yeah, Claude Giroux, Jacob Voracek, Lindblom, Travis Konechny, Scott Lawton, and Ryan Braun. Anyway, the defenseman Braun is out of the lineup due to COVID protocol. It's interesting with the team with 6 active players on COVID protocol that they're still playing. But,
and I mean, even for the Flyers to lose Giroux and Konechny, that's like a first and second line killer.
Yeah,
that's a death sentence for your top, scoring core. So I don't know, man. I feel like Boston's just going to absolutely lay it down on them. If there's good odds for Boston to win that game, I will put the farm on it.
Yeah. The other thing about that game is that this is the most significant travel those two teams will be doing this season. Unless they make the finals and they play a team out west, or they in the semifinals, depending on how everything shakes out and how they seed everybody. This will be the longest they travel this season, and it's just for one game. I'll be interested to see how fresh they are coming out of the gate. It's a much shorter flight for Vegas and Colorado, especially teams that are much more used to a little bit longer travel. It's a much shorter flight, so I expect those teams to be fresher on the ice.
Yeah, that shoots me straight into my hard no for the league right now. San Jose, we know the Lake Tahoe is in your backyard. You don't have to tell everybody. We have a map. Guys, you're not good. You don't deserve to be there. There's not a reason that we would want to include you in this. I don't have anything against San Jose. You're just not entertaining to watch, okay? This is like Detroit and Chicago going up against each other. Just stop. We don't want to see you there.
NBC took the chance of showing Detroit, Chicago on the Sunday game the other night or the other week. There's no chance that they would put San Jose in this game.
It's just not
right there. It's right there. Why they are not in this game?
If San Jose is better, I would watch it. It's just that sounds like a wasted Sunday evening.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, it's not a good. It's just not a good team to put in there. I mean, they have some decent players,
but they're not entertaining to watch.
No, I mean,
San Jose fans are up in arms though. They're like, it's only a 2-hour bus ride.
I don't know if you want to get. I don't know if you want to get Evander Kane anywhere near Nevada at this point.
Yeah, right.
Jeez, let's not tip
his money phone,
Yeah.
He'll be flipping his chip walking out on the ice.
Yeah, exactly. Carrying out. Oh no, he can't carry out big wads of cash anymore. Because the creditor will be like, "Hey, come here."
It's Monopoly money, spray painted green.
Hand that over. So Western Conference or Western Division. My not hot team in this division is it's a team. It's Minnesota. I just don't buy them right now. They're a little bit over 500 points percentage, but they really have played California, all the California teams. So they're feasting off of Los Angeles, Anaheim, and not even really feasting. They're 500 off of Los Angeles, Anaheim, and San Jose. They've only played one real team, and they're 1-2 against them, and that's Colorado. They only have they got an overtime win against Colorado, one game. So I just don't buy Minnesota and they got a couple more games against Los Angeles coming up. So they're pretty much done with Los Angeles. Now they're going to have to start facing teams like Colorado, Vegas, St. Louis. And I think that or even Arizona, once that schedule starts to even out a little bit, you're going to see Minnesota fall back even more than they are. They're 7th in the division now. So that's games in hand at this point.
Minnesota, San Jose, Anaheim, Los Angeles. It's one of those bottom half divisions. I feel like watching Arizona, which it sounds terrible because we lost to Los Angeles last night in a shootout. But watching Arizona play Los Angeles looks like a practice. Mm-hmm. It looks like they're just wearing the alternate jersey to get in a few shots before they play somebody. We should be performing better than this, but also so should they.
Yeah.
LA next year is hopefully going to have a lot better year with some really good prospects coming up.
They're not horribly bad either. So
actually, right now the NHL or who's ESPN has Los Angeles rated number 1 in prospects.
Oh yeah, I mean they are stacked
like a mile. So I foresee LA coming back and being a top 3, top 4 team. It's just not going to happen right now.
Yeah. Well, LA was smart. They knew that their window was closing, and they went and acquired picks. And not for their top generational talent. They
kept Kopitar, they kept Jonathan Quick, they kept
Drew Doughty,
Dustin Brown.
Yeah. So I mean, they didn't give up on the players that brought them to the Cup, but they were able to move guys like Tyler Foley and get solid returns for them, and they're able to parlay that into really good picks. And doesn't hurt that you get to draft Quentin Byfield and and then have a couple drafts where you have multiple first round picks. It's going to accelerate if you pick well. I mean, the Sabres have done that. They've had multiple first round picks in a couple drafts and managed to piss those away. But if you draft well, that's the key. If you draft well, you'll turn it around.
Yeah, my hot for this division is Vegas is on fire. I mean,
yeah,
and there's not even it's not even fire season, and Vegas is on fire. So good for them.
Yeah, exactly.
The not hot, I'm going to agree with you, man. Minnesota, I had pegged as maybe a top 5 team. I kind of figured that they would fall very lightly into 4th with us right below them. And I was wrong. They're just really bad. They just suck.
I mean, they've got some, that Kaprizov guy is good. I just think that there's issues with their goaltending. There's issues with the aging veteran core, which has got a ton of money tied up in it
for a long time.
Yeah. So, I mean, it looks like you guys are gonna, and my hot team, because they won the 7-game series with St. Louis, is Arizona. They're currently in 4th place in the division, and I actually, unless LA catches fire and develops faster than expected, I really kind of expect this top 4 to it's going to shift. I don't think St. Louis is going to stay number 1. I would say, St. Louis and Arizona will probably be 3 and 4, and whoever wins between Colorado and Vegas. Those are going to be the top 2 teams in this division.
Yeah, and actually, Arizona and St. Louis did something pretty cool. For the second time in sports history, the first being earlier this year, as you pointed out to me, the first time we ran through this. For the second time in sports history, Arizona and St. Louis got to play a playoff series in the middle of season, which is a very weird thing, and it's all COVID related. It was all those COVID trade-off games that we had kind of got stuck with. I'm not complaining about it. I think that we did pretty well considering who we were up against. Tyler Pitlick looked fantastic. Their Broussard looked fantastic. a few off-season acquisitions that I was questioning a little bit. They're solid guys. I'm not upset about it.
And Clayton Keller's coming, so
yeah, Keller, and we've got Keller for 8 more years.
Yeah.
If Keller actually decides to show up and becomes a real left-hand threat, then he could. I don't see Keller as a dynasty player. I see Keller as like a half and half guy, with half with us and then half with probably one of the New York teams or something along those lines. I could see him being worth quite a bit, at least, if nothing else, just to get out of Arizona. We'll trade him for Austin Matthews. Call me Toronto.
There you go. Bring the Arizona boy home just in time to move him off to Quebec or or Portland that's another story about the Arizona Coyotes is that they were featured in the Athletic this week.
Yeah, and also Bleacher Report had done a follow-up.
Yeah, I mean it's the situation in Arizona. It's a good young team, but that whole management mess. And it's always been plagued with ownership issues. Ever since it's been in the desert.
Yeah, and we had the worst coach in NHL history.
Which coach was that? Gretzky. Gretzky wasn't that bad.
Dude, Gretzky was a terrible coach. If you ever watch Gretzky on the bench at practice, there's videos of him behind the bench, and the whole time he's just going, why don't you go where the puck's going to be instead of where the puck is? The puck is going that way. You go over there.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Player, so it's in his head. He's like, he sees 10 moves ahead, and everybody else is just staring at him like, what are you talking about, dude?
I mean, that's a lot of times the top players don't make the best coaches because they expect people to see the game as they see it, and they people just don't. But yeah, so we've talked about Arizona in the past. We've talked about perhaps future landing locations for them. Where do you see them ending up if things are as bad as they are being reported?
So the only thing that's got Arizona hanging in the desert is that Gary Bettman wants to maintain a team in the desert. Arizona's got so many issues, man. They're in a terrible location. Scottsdale's a terrible spot for a hockey team. It's a very inconvenient area, and you have more experience with the Southwest than I do in the way that city layout works there.
They're just instead of building up big skyscraper cities, and downtown Phoenix does have a few skyscrapers, but for the most part, those western cities are expansive cities. They build out rather instead of building up. So Phoenix basically is just a series of suburbs, and to get to Scottsdale, it's expanded so much. I mean, it's one of the largest cities in the country now. The infrastructure hasn't really caught up with that. So to get to Scottsdale, 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, you're fighting rush hour traffic. That place stacks up pretty good, as good as any city in the United States when it comes to traffic. They don't really have a public transit option. They've got a little bit of light rail in downtown Phoenix. So you've got to get there by car, and it's just people. If your product is you're going to see people come out when the Coyotes are doing well, but if you're struggling, if your team's struggling, then you're not going to see people make the trek out there. Drop $100 on a game.
Well, not only that, man. I get off from work at 6.
Yeah.
Puck drops at 7. It takes 2.5 hours to get there.
Yep.
I'm not going to get there for the third period. I'm gonna go watch it at the bar. I'm not going to buy anything associated with the Coyotes at all, unless it's knockoff Chinese stuff, because that's how the world works now.
Yep.
And there's no revenue to the stadium, so it's going to have to end up going to whenever Bettman's out, which will be within the next 5 years, Bettman is getting old quick. As soon as Bettman's gone, I think that the big two options that everybody's really talked about have been Quebec City and Houston. The issues with those are Houston's made it pretty publicly clear they don't have any interest in having a hockey team. They don't want to host a hockey team. They like their Texans and their Rockets and their Astros, and that's really all that they need. Quebec City, I would love to see Arizona go be the new Nordiques. The problem with that is the economy of Canada is tanking, and the Canadian dollar is tanking. They're not going to move a team to Canada right now. It doesn't financially make sense for the NHL to move a team to a place. And I think that's why Edmonton, you have so many complaints at Edmonton for the price of tickets. It's because they're just trying to keep standard to American prices for, the population of the city. They kind of have a price bracket deal. Edmonton tickets are outrageous, like $200 for a nosebleed seat.
Yeah.
But that's only like $150 American, which is still high, but it's not TD Center high. It's not Boston Garden high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I think that Quebec City would be a great choice if the economy of Canada was better.
Yeah.
It's not.
So, and when you look at the history of it, the reason why the Jets and the Nordiques and, they moved out was
original
because
Calgary team, the Calgary Flames, the first time.
Yeah, the reason why the Jets and the Nordiques moved out was because the Canadian dollar tanked in the 90s, and you had issues with lack of major corporate sponsorship. The arenas didn't have the nice luxury boxes that you sell to corporate sponsors. I get exactly where Houston's coming from. You don't want to build a multi-million-dollar hockey arena in a non-traditional market. I mean, it's hard to sell that to the taxpayers.
It's what Arizona did, and that's going to be the example.
Yeah.
If you try to pitch Arizona to Houston, they're going to say, then show me why it did so well in Arizona.
Yeah, and that arena is just for the hockey team. The Suns still play downtown.
Yeah.
They never moved out to Scottsdale.
Lucky them.
Yeah.
The Diamondbacks, actually. They're
Diamondbacks are downtown as well. It's a nice stadium. But yeah, I don't think you're going to see Houston. You could see San Antonio. They've got the arena there that hosts the Spurs, but the problem is that you're competing with basketball there. And in Texas, I think basketball is a bigger draw than hockey ever will be.
Dallas has done well, but only because Dallas did well.
Yeah, they won. So if you put a winning team, like anywhere, if you put a winning team there,
Anaheim won a cup. They won a cup and they were in a movie, and that cemented the Anaheim fan base. And if you ask an Anaheim fan why they're an Anaheim fan, that's the two things that did it. It could have just as easily been the Maple Leafs. No one
was gonna fall in love with the Maple Leafs over the Love Guru. So,
yeah. But I think that our two most likely choices for an Arizona move would be number one, Kansas City.
Yeah, they got the arena there.
And I don't think it would be renamed the Scouts. Just, I understand the backstory of the statue in town and stuff. I just don't think that we're going to have another Native American themed team in any major sports league ever as a new entry, unless one of these reservations in Oklahoma saves up enough money to decide that they're gonna buy a rugby team or something, Yeah. But I think that realistically, and it's kind of a sleeper pick, honestly. I don't know why more people haven't said anything about it. Is Milwaukee. Out of every city in the United States that should have an NHL team, I feel like Milwaukee should have been like an original six team, honestly, because their location, there is a fantastic hockey market. It's Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And if you put an NHL team into Milwaukee, you would have the draw of everybody in Wisconsin that is either a failing Chicago fan or a failing Detroit fan.
Or a failing Minnesota fan.
Yeah. That's like the trifecta of steal me away, you know?
Exactly. It's fertile ground. I mean, Milwaukee would be a fantastic location. It does have an NBA competitor, which means that it does have an appropriate sized arena for that area to put a hockey team in. But I think in this case, hockey would be a much bigger draw than the Bucks. Even though the Bucks got a good young upcoming team, the Bucks are kind of a feeder team, so they're going to have a good young upcoming team until those guys hit free agency, and then they walk, and the team struggles. The NBA's got such a power imbalance in that league. Unless you are LA or a team just wants to go off on a lark and start throwing stupid money at players to bring them in. If your team is kind of that middle range, yeah, you'll make the playoffs, but you're never going to make the NBA finals.
Yeah, and I mean, it's traditionally a bigger hockey market than anything.
Yeah,
I feel like you should throw a lot of people back to it, and they do have an AHL team. They've got the Admirals. They're in Milwaukee. The only issue that I see with Milwaukee is space. Milwaukee is a very upward city, unlike Arizona. Yeah. Like the last time I was in Milwaukee, I parked on the top of an 8-level parking garage in a spot that was built for a Prius in a Jeep Cherokee is what I was driving. And that was shady. I thought that I was going to have to crawl out the window like Dukes of Hazzard style and just leave the window down in the snow. But like I walked out of the parking garage to the elevator to go down.
Yeah.
And to get to the elevator, you had to walk through a lawyer's lobby. Oh. Like that's how Milwaukee's laid out. So
if you stabbed a man while you were there, it was convenient then.
Yeah, right. You get mugged in the parking garage, you can sue the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's emotional distress.
But yeah, the only other city that I think would be ripe for NHL, it's got a minor, a junior team, Western junior team. That's Portland. It's
have two Northwestern teams in the same span.
That's the thing. You got two Northwestern teams that one it would mean that you have to kind of redo your realignment because Arizona was supposed to move to the Central. You would want to keep Portland there with Seattle and Vancouver. That would be a great kind of Northwestern rivalry right there. I think that would, that's another reason why I think it would work is that, when you look at what is developed in MLS with Portland and Seattle and even Vancouver, I think that would translate well with hockey. But yeah, I mean, if I'm ranking cities, I would probably put Milwaukee ahead of Portland.
I think that my top three would be Kansas first, just because Kansas deserves another shot at a hockey team. And the Blues do well. The Blues have actually always done pretty well.
They're the most ready, but I think the Blues would probably be the sticking point with bringing a team into Kansas City. I know that they had issues when they brought them in originally, and a lot of that pressure was kind of, and the fact that they struggled out of the gate was kind of what led to the move to Denver. But I don't. Yeah, I mean, it would be good because then you have that real built-in rivalry with St. Louis. You'd want them in the same division. It would be much more geographically aligned if you were going to move Arizona to that Central Division.
Just let Kansas City play shortstop.
Yeah. Yeah. So
and Kansas City's a quick growing city.
Oh, it is.
And another one that I would love to see end up with a team is Grand Rapids, Michigan. I just don't think it'll ever happen.
No, it's too close to
Detroit.
All right,
But
it's the
that's another
same,
city.
issue with like Hamilton, Ontario, where
Right.
when Jim Balsillie tried to move the Predators there. Both Buffalo and Toronto object because they feel that that's their kind of core market.
Let's just put a team in Bangor, man.
There you go.
Yeah. It's the Bangor Bangers.
Bangers and mash.
Banger.
There you go. All right, so let's go to who's next in our review here. The East Division. I have things to say. So I'll start positive. My hot player of the week is Nicholas Baxter. He's currently leading the division in scoring, 8 goals, 12 assists. He had a nice greasy goal against Buffalo the other night. On the power play, I was actually surprised to see that he was leading the division in scoring. So, good on him. My not hot is my Buffalo Sabres. 3 games after the COVID break, they're 0-3, have not looked good in any one of those games. The first game back, they did not have a shot on goal in the third period. The second game back, they were, up against it, against the Islanders the whole time. They were shut out. And then the third game, they played the Capitals, and were just, they look slow. They look, and yeah, people are using the excuse that they were off for 2 weeks. It doesn't hold water when you're talking about New Jersey, who was also off for actually 1 day longer than the Sabres, and they have won their 2 games out of the COVID lockout. So
it's like Dallas, man. Dallas got a late start. Dallas hadn't played a game yet. Dallas comes out of the gate 7-0.
Yeah.
At least Buffalo played a few games as warm up before they got their break. It's all the team and not the break.
Yeah. I mean Rasmus Dahlin looks slow and unsure of himself. He's, lots of people are starting to, say, that the whispers are getting louder as to, is this guy a bust as a number 1 overall pick? I'm not ready to hear yet, but he does look slow. I mean, he looks incredibly slow. He got blown by J.G. Pajot the other night, blew by him on a power play, and Hutton saved that situation. And then last night, Tom Wilson blew by him.
Least favorite person in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, and scored a pretty shorthanded goal all by himself. And, it's just he's, tied for worst in the league when it comes to plus minus. He's at minus 14. The Sabres, the entire team is awful when it comes to plus minus. They have 4 players in double digits, 4 players in the top 10. And that's Dahlin, Sam Reinhart is 3rd or 4th, and then Taylor Hall and Colin Miller are both negative 10, kind of at the end of that top 10 list. But even guys like Jack Eichel are minus 9. I mean, no one looks really good on that team right now.
Except Jeff Skinner, war favorite penny.
Oh, why'd you do that to me, man? Why you tore my emotions like that?
No, the Sabres are pretty rough.
Yeah, and it's not going to get any better for them because their schedule is basically every other night they have a game. There are points in the season where they're going to have 5 games in 6 nights, and back-to-backs every week, and
which would be tough for a team that is good, let alone one that's struggling to tread water, and it's a kiddie pool.
Yeah, and they're once you have all these back-to-back games start rolling in, you're going to start seeing injuries pile up because they're just not getting the rest and the recuperation heading out of the through the rest of the season. But good news is New York Governor Cuomo has allowed 10% fans to go back in the building. So at least they'll get booed. At least they'll get booed. That was many comment the other night when they didn't have a shot, or the second game against the Islanders, that the digital fans should be booing at this point.
Yeah,
so have some live people to boo.
My absolute favorite meme that I saw this week was just a comment on a Buffalo post from the Sabres, like a certified post from the Sabres. And it was a guy saying that he had bought one of the cutouts of his grandma in memory of her because she'd passed away. And he was wondering if he could come pick it up because he doesn't want her to have to sit through this.
I wouldn't want to sit through that either. I thought about getting one of those. And no, I don't even want to be seen in that audience.
This isn't a season you want memories of.
No, but that's been the case for 9 years now, going on 10.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you, man. Basically, that whole bottom half. I understand New Jersey's on the up and up, but they have a really low ceiling. They're like a tall guy jumping. Eventually he's just going to spring up there and bust through the popcorn paint, and then fall down.
Yeah,
and that's what New Jersey, they can go to 4. That's all, but they can go to 4. So my hot for this week is a guy that we all love to hate. Love to see him. Brad Marchand. 9 goals, 9 assists in 15 games. This guy stepped up in a way that we never would have expected him to. And a lot of it was done without Pastrnak.
Yeah.
So this guy went from, Claude Lemieux to Bobby Clark. I mean, it's crazy how quickly he switched from instigator to actual asset that doesn't just make people mad. Yeah,
exactly.
I didn't expect to see Brad Marchand come back to relevancy that wasn't just licking dudes. I mean, I thought that Brad Marchand had become a meme, and I know when to say I'm wrong, and I was wrong about Brad Marchand. Yeah, and that leaves a very bad taste in my mouth to say.
At least not from licking anybody.
Yeah, right. It doesn't taste like sweat.
No, I mean, I was listening to another hockey guy talking about Brad Marchand using, when he was a younger player, he used that agitator role to buy himself more time on ice, and he was able to use that increased role on ice to show off his skills. And now he's seen as a skill player. He doesn't have to agitate. I think he agitates just by showing his ugly face. But
he agitates by association.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, his reputation it's completely reputational now.
It's great to see it, though. I mean, I love to see guys switch roles like that.
Yeah. So he's got the skill to contribute, and he's got fantastic line mates, but that's.
But even without one of those fantastic line mates, he still stepped up and
still producing. Yeah. So it's not just line mates. He's not Foxy by proxy. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, he's he's a modern day Renaissance man, I guess.
That's what you want to say, man.
All right, let's roll on the Central. Who you got as hot in this division?
Right now, my hot is actually not even a top-ranked team. It's Columbus. I feel like Columbus is on the up and up big time. Even with the little hiccup with Laine, in his production, they still look really, really solid. And I could see them stepping up, probably top 3, top 4.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised. And seriously, if Jack Roslovic continues to step out as he has since he's gotten to Columbus, this is going to be an epically bad trade for Winnipeg. Right now, as it stands, Winnipeg really hasn't gotten anything out of this trade because Dubois has been under COVID quarantine for 2 weeks, and then he's played a couple of games, doesn't have much to show for it. But you know, Columbus has gotten returns out of both Line and Roslovic. If Jack continues to play as he's playing, this is going to be one of the most uneven trades in the history of the Jets for sure. My hot team in this division, and you can see them up in second place, and I never thought I would see them in second place in this division, even though they have games in hand or they've played more games. Watching those first few games of the season where they were getting wrecked by Tampa and Florida, the Chicago Blackhawks, man, Patrick Kane is a beast. He has tonight he scored and this is Friday night for those watching at our normal time. Scored a beautiful goal against Carolina tonight, even though they lost. But yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful spinorama backhand goal that beat the goaltender in Carolina.
And I feel like that would have beat most goaltenders.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's such an unexpected move. It was a shell move. It was a be a player, maxed out handling stat, maxed out backhand. And I love to watch him play because he reminds me of Timo Solana. He's a very pointed, get in, get it off the stick play style. And, on ice, he reminds me of Timo Solana. Off ice, he reminds me of Matthew McConaughey. So the guy's very multi-talented,
Yeah. The thing that I worry about with Chicago, even though they're my hot team, is that this is going to play poorly if they do decide to move somebody like a Patrick Kane. That they're competitive now makes it much more difficult to have that conversation. If they, fall off the cliff, as I kind of expect them to do in the next few weeks, then that makes that conversation a whole lot easier. But, after not getting any value for Jonathan Taves, after not getting any value for Duncan Keith, and Duncan Keith is, he's still playing, but he's just not what you would get
standard. Yeah.
You can't move the contract that he's playing for without taking probably at least half of it back, or paying half of it. And there's still a few years left on those contracts. So I would, you definitely need to move Patrick Kane to get some assets to, move you beyond this wonderful decade that the Blackhawks have had in success, but that's not going to keep you going on. And they've got some decent pieces, like Kirby Doc's a decent piece. DeBrincat's a good piece. The Pia Suter and their rookie scoring is those are good pieces. You need something a little very solid in return for Patrick Kane to set you up long term for that franchise. Because if not, then you're going to go back to like that early 2000s Chicago, which didn't have anything going on for it. Weren't playing their home games on television. The games that you would see on television looked awful because they were not lighted well. But once they got past the original Wirtz era, they were able to really build a team that was effective, both on the ice and in marketing as well. So,
I think that right now the big hope for Chicago is that, best case scenario for Chicago with Patrick Kane is he creates a half-season highlight reel of look at why I'm still relevant. Look at why Chicago should still get maximum value out of me. Yep. He wins because he can get a better contract wherever he's going. Chicago wins because they get something in return.
Yeah, he doesn't really even need a new contract. I mean, he's still under contract for a few years, and he's still getting paid, top 10 money in the league. So, it's him going where he feels most comfortable at this point.
And that'll open doors for him. I mean, if he scores 30 and 30 in this crazy season, you better believe that teams like Washington and Tampa are going to be looking at him.
Yeah. The only concern with those teams is that they're already, hard cap at this point. And I don't think the cap's going to go anywhere. Definitely not going to go up at all. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see it go down just because of the contracting economy and, them playing for a season without, with a smattering of fans. So, I mean, does he take a chance and go to a place like Seattle?
That would be kind of cool.
He becomes the face of that franchise. There's always been the rumor of him going to Buffalo. Buffalo's got too much money tied up in dead weight right now to even consider
Buffalo. I would hate that. I like Patrick Kane too much to see him go to Buffalo. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean it in a nice way if it helps.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's honestly at this point, we'll probably talk about this next week. I would not hate to see Jack Eichel traded. He's a fantastic talent, but at this point, it feels like he's not there for the team. But we'll probably talk about that next week because it's a much longer discussion. Did we get everybody? Yeah.
Detroit still my bottom.
Yeah, it's hard. And for me, my bottom is Matt Duchene in Nashville. He's second leading scorer on the team, but that team is not scoring, and he's not scoring. He's in the bottom 10 and plus minus as well.
There's your face of Seattle.
Yeah.
Matt Duchene. He'll be the Mark Stone of Seattle.
Oh, no. No. Well, you have to see if he's got a no-trade clause, which I'm pretty sure he does.
Does that no-trade clause actually apply to expansion draft, though?
It does.
So I was under the impression that it did not fly in the expansion.
No, it does apply, which means if you have issues because you have to put a certain number of players up, those people with no trade clauses are automatically put on the protected list. So if you have a good young player that's outside of that initial 3-year contract that is not on a no movement clause, but you really want to protect them, you're going to have to figure out something. That's where you get the horse trading where, a team will trade you a first-round draft pick so you don't choose that player, that you choose another player on their roster. That's where you see that stuff happening. But yeah, I would be surprised if Duchene has it. I think a player can waive their no movement clause to be in the expansion draft, and it's gone so bad in Nashville for Duchene that I wouldn't be surprised if it happened.
Yeah. But he was hot whenever he was playing for Columbus, but it was just that one playoff run that made his name.
Yeah.
I was excited to see him go from Ottawa to Columbus because I thought Columbus was going to keep him.
I think everybody saw, everyone taking off, and he was like, yeah, this is not going to be a good situation for me. And he took off himself. But, Columbus has done far better than Nashville since. So let's go to the North Division. And my hot player in the North is Mr. Austin Matthews. The kid's just deadly right now. He is sniping. And leading goals and just he's sick.
Just studly.
Yeah. The entire top line for Toronto is pretty epic right now. And again, we're talking about the North Division and their Civ-like goaltending, but
those top two lines for Toronto.
Yeah.
The second line does not get enough credit, man. Same thing with Colorado, actually. I think the Burakovsky is one of the the best up and coming underrated
Kadri.
centers in the league. You know,
Well, you got Kadri and Burakovsky, and yeah, they're just that's a great line, and perhaps they benefit because they're not facing the top defensive pairing from teams, but hey, they're scoring, they're taking advantage of it. Same thing with Toronto's second line is that they're taking advantage of not facing the top defensive pairing from a very weak defensive division.
Yeah, and also my top player in the first time in Saturday Night Hockey Show history has changed from the first time that we thought that we were recording to now in light of new circumstances. Mark Scheifele just extended his 9-game point streak.
Oh, very nice.
Mark Scheifele is not working with a lot. Congrats, Mark Scheifele.
Yeah. Mark Scheifele's pretty much the man there until PLD gets his legs under him, if he ever does.
Yeah. Wheeler's getting kind of old.
Wheeler was a thrasher, so I mean that's
saying something because that was 2010.
Yeah, there's not much left from the Thrashers.
Jarry played in the 90s.
That's true. But Scheifele's a good player. I don't know that they have enough around him for him to take that next step.
No, Scheifele will go down as good, but could have been better.
Yeah,
I feel like that's kind of the mark of Scheifele.
It's not because of him. It's because they just didn't put the requisite players around him to.
It's circumstantial.
Yeah.
My original hot player was Tim Stootsell for hanging in there. Good job, kid.
Yeah, 9 points, not bad. 9 points on an awful team. He's got as many points as the Senators.
Yes.
And when he is a minus 13.
This is the entire Maple Leafs roster.
But he is a minus 14, tied with Rasmus Dahlin. Although I give him a break because he's a rookie, and Rasmus Dahlin is not a rookie. So, but in the North Division, I'll throw a bomb on this guy. He's actually a very good player. Leads the NHL in defensive scoring, or scoring from a defenseman. Quinn Hughes. He's got 20 points. Fantastic. But he's also minus 12. And that's awful. I mean, you're giving up goals at a unreasonable clip if you're a defenseman. You tone it back. You're at 20 points in 20 games. If you went to like a 15 points in 20 game pace and were more solid defensively,
you'd be defensive instead of a 4 forward, which is what he's trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think because the goaltending in Vancouver has been so bad, I think it's put pressure on him to produce more on the front end to try and outscore the goaltending. But again, he's abandoning his defensive posture and causing issues for his team.
I'm amazed right now that Draisaitl and McDavid haven't put anything on for Edmonton.
Yeah.
Especially against Calgary. I'm kind of hoping Calgary ties it up for an OT.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is late in the game. Man.
Yeah. We've been talking for 3 hours. We just – it's we had that one thing. So my hot for the North – or my not for the North is Matt Murray. I feel like that kind of goes unspoken. That's like your grandma's unspoken prayer request. We all know what it is, but like none of us want to say it out loud.
Yeah, Travis, stop smoking the weed, man. Pull your life together, man. No, I'm just kidding. We've got pretty much everything that we want to talk about. There are a couple of news stories. Preds have issued a vote of confidence for David Poyle, the general manager. David Poyle's been, long-term general manager of Nashville. He was also long-term general manager of Washington Capitals. But when you get the vote of confidence, that's basically them saying update your resume because it's coming.
Very polite way to for your employer to give you a 2-week notice. Yeah.
Yeah, dead man walking. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You got anything else for the week?
Oh, we got Ron Hextall.
Oh yes, Ron Hextall got hired by the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is an interesting story because Ron
hates the Penguins. Last I checked, I mean, Hex saw that to try to break. Who was it? There was one guy. Was it Bill Guerin that he had a vendetta against, that every time that he'd come on the ice, he'd try to break his legs?
That's a possibility. But Guerin liked to play in front of the net, so.
Yeah, no, I mean he was King Slash, but particularly Pittsburgh, he hated Pittsburgh. So to see him working for Pittsburgh is pretty funny.
It is, and then not only that, but they brought in Brian Burke.
Which, okay,
how's that going to work?
Dude, he's going to teach them all how to fight. It's going to be like Stu Grimson in the Mighty Ducks.
Jeez.
Yeah,
this is kind of like when they brought Barry Melrose back to coach Tampa. It's going to go just about as well, I think. They're obviously there. I think this is kind of tough love. It's interesting that Mario Lemieux brought him in, but I think maybe it's because Hextall hates the Penguins so much that they brought him in because he'll be a perfect fall guy when they do trade off some of these assets. If he's already talking about trading Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, I think they need to trade Crosby for Galchenyuk, actually.
Yeah, well, we just acquired Galchenyuk for 3 Krispy Kreme donuts. So
yeah, no, Galchenyuk. If anybody is looking for a lawn care worker, children's birthday parties, beer league coaching, special guest stars at your poetry slam, my phone number will be in the comments. I am personally representing Alex Galchenyuk in all endeavors, starting at $25 an hour, working your way up to $50 if you want to wear a Speedo. I mean, seriously, guys, somebody give this dude a job. Canadian Tire. Don't put him in a commercial. He can bounce.
If you want, he will kill somebody for you.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, that's
going to be a little bit higher. We'll get that on the dark web if you want to acquire those services.
You know that he's calling somebody in San Jose that he played with in juniors, like, "Hey man, is that place still on the ocean? Like, can I get a job?"
Tragedy, man.
Get a Zamboni guy. It's just, exactly. I live in the boiler. Come on, man, just help me. And it's so sad too because he had such potential and he was so good in juniors, and then he just
it flamed out, and he was victim of the expectations from his junior career.
He's a hot potato.
Yeah. Now nobody wants to touch him. The reasons why they got him out of Ottawa, I'll never know. It's strange to me that Cedric Paquette was the centerpiece of that trade for that deal because as soon as they got him, they put him on waivers.
Well, I thought, where would Galchenyuk be good? Ottawa. Ottawa needs something, anything to help, to keep them relevant for just a few more years until some of that young talent comes up. And then they got rid of him. And, dude, if Ottawa passes on you, I'm probably better. I'm just going to throw it out there. I can't skate. I can't score. I kind of know how to hold a stick. It's whatever. I feel like I'd have a better shot in Ottawa right now than Alex Galchenyuk, which is
it's amazing that how far he's fallen. And my only speculation on that is that what he was offering in the room was not what they needed for their young players.
Maybe it's just an attitude thing, and nobody wants to say it. They're respectfully being quiet about the fact that he just sucks. Yeah. Even whenever he was in Arizona, man, that's a lot of the trash talk that's coming out of Arizona with that Athletic article was from the time that he was there. maybe he was that big of a negative locker room presence that was one of the reasons he's no longer with us.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot to get passed around that much that quick.
Yeah,
I can't think of another player that I've ever seen get, dumped that fast, just over and over.
No, unless there was like an outward thing that everyone knows, like, okay, well, like Sean Avery, was just a in public douchebag, and okay, so you could see maybe there was an issue in the locker room or something like that. That the other teams have been quiet. I'm wondering what it is.
It's going to come out, and whenever it does come out, it's going to be a story. I don't know if it's going to be a good one. It's going to be something, though.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man.
But I think
anything else
for me?
Yeah.
So tomorrow I will be traveling for work in Findlay, Ohio, and catching a Blues game with a buddy of mine up there. Not in person, as sad as I am about it, but we're going to grab that game and see what goes on. And I know Dave will be live chatting while we are on pre-recorded.
This, yes.
Yeah. And I'm going to try to stop in at some point and say hi to everybody and just
excellent.
Maybe hang out for a few minutes if anybody's around. So
cool. All right. Well, thanks to everyone for watching. Funny thing, the first time we did this is where I realized we weren't broadcast.
Yeah, Dave
forgot to record. Well, actually, I did everything. I hit the record.
I hit the record, and I'm like,
son of a. But
you got the golden retriever eyebrow out of me with it.
Yeah. I deserved it. But thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll look forward to seeing you next week, talking about the games that happen this weekend and next week. And hopefully it's a little bit better for my Sabres, but I'm not feeling it.
Don't be optimistic.
I've been a Sabres fan for many years. I'm not optimistic. I'm just trying not to be too pessimistic.
Dude, it doesn't matter how much water's in that cup. There's a little kid with a slingshot, and he's getting closer every time. So, I mean, it's not a good look.
Here's the hint. It's not water in the cup.
Is it vodka? I feel like it should
Everclear. It's Everclear.
That's what old boy's grandma was drinking, so she could bear to watch him.
Yeah. Oy. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. We'll talk to you guys next week. If you're on Facebook, give us a like and a share. If you're on Twitter, give us a little heart react. And if you're on YouTube, hit the like, the subscribe, and hit that little bell for notifications of future broadcasts. And we'll talk to you again next week.
Yeah, and if you're on Parler, please don't talk to us.
They can't. They can't. All right. Take care, everybody.
See you guys.